If someone has an English name, chances are it's more likely to begin with the letter J. Janet, Joseph, Joe, Jackson, Jerry, Jared, you name it. Apparently the letter J is the most used first initial for English human names for genders overall, with A being a very, very close second. There are more trees on Earth than there are stars in the Milky Way. There are only 3 trillion plus Earth trees in existence, while between 100 to 400 billion stars exist in the galaxy. Turkey is literally on 2 continents. It is geographically located in Europe and Asia. The smaller northwestern part of Turkey, about 3% of its land area, is in Europe and is called Thrace, Trakya in Turkish. This includes the European side of Istanbul. The much larger part, about 97% of the country, is in Asia and is called Anatolia or Asia Minor. The boundary between the European and Asian sides runs through the city of Istanbul itself, across the Bosporus Strait. 2 famous bridges, the Bosporus Bridge and the Fatih Sultan Mehmet Bridge, literally connect the European and Asian continents, meaning you could travel from Asia to Europe by foot in about 40 minutes. The most spoken language in the world is the English language, followed by the Chinese Mandarin. This is for native and non-native speakers. For native speakers solely, Mandarin Chinese still takes it, followed by Spanish. The oldest genre of music still very common today is the Gregorian chant or plain chant. Though believed to have earlier roots, it originated around the 9th to 10th century CE, codified under Pope Gregory I and later Carolingian reforms. Every day in many Catholic monasteries, some parish churches, and even in concerts worldwide, it is still widely recorded and performed. The national anthem of Spain has no official lyrics. Called La Marcha Real, the Royal March, it is one of only 4 national anthems in the world with no official lyrics. The others are Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kosovo, and San Marino. Spaniards just hum it, play the instrumental version, or sometimes sing unofficial historic lyrics at sports events, especially football matches. So yes, when Spain wins the World Cup, not that they are gonna soon, or Olympics, you usually will hear 90,000 people humming in perfect unison. Honey never spoils. Archaeologists have found perfectly edible honey in ancient Egyptian tombs dating back over 3,000 years. Some samples are around 3,300 to 3,500 years old. The most famous examples come from the tombs in the Valley of the Kings. Sealed properly, honey is the only food that truly lasts forever. There's even a verified jar from 1922 that was found with King Tut's tomb, still perfectly edible in 2025. The shortest war in history was between Britain and Zanzibar on August 27, 1896. Zanzibar surrendered after 38 minutes. At 9:02 a.m., British warships began bombarding the Sultan's palace. By 9:40 a.m., Zanzibar lowered its flag and surrendered. The Sultan, who refused British demands, had fled by 9:05, and his palace was in flames shortly after. Over 500 Zanzibari defenders were killed or wounded. The British had 1 injured sailor. Cleopatra lived closer in time to the moon landing than to the construction of the Great Pyramid. Great Pyramid of Giza completed 2560 BC. Cleopatra 7 born 69 BC, died 30 BC. Moon landing Apollo 11 July 20th, 1969 AD. In other words, from Great Pyramid to Cleopatra, 2,530 years. From Cleopatra to the moon landing, 1,999 years. So yes, Cleopatra lived about 530 years closer to the moon landing than to the building of the Great Pyramid. She was also closer in time to the iPhone, pizza, and the founding of Starbucks than to the pyramids she's always pictured next to. Bananas are berries, but strawberries and raspberries are not berries. The botanical definition of a berry is a fleshy fruit that comes from one single flower with one ovary, has seeds embedded in the flesh, and has no stony pit, with the entire outer layer called pericarp being fleshy. Bananas fit all that criteria, but strawberries, raspberries, and even blackberries don't. The first oranges weren't orange, they were green. The wild orange ancestors from Southeast Asia had green or yellowish-green skin when ripe, just like many limes today. What we call oranges only turned orange because they were bred in cooler climates. Cooler night temperatures break down chlorophyll in the peel and reveal orange/yellow carotenoids underneath. And just in case you wondered, the color got its modern English name from the fruit, not the other way around. The color always existed, but English speakers didn't have a name for it, so they just called it giallurid, Old English for yellow-red. The first recorded instance of the word orange to represent the color was between the 1300s to 1500s. But by then, the fruit, though called nraga in Sanskrit or India, narang in Persian, or naranj in Arabic, was already being cultivated for more than 2,500 years. Even the first use of the English word orange to represent the fruit was recorded initially between the 1100s to 1300s, still making the English representative word for the fruit older than the English representative word for the color. A day on Venus is longer than its year. A day on Venus, that is one full rotation on its axis, takes 243 Earth days, while a year on Venus, that is one orbit around the Sun, takes 224.7 Earth days. A Venusian day is longer than a Venusian year by about 18 Earth days. Also, Venus rotates backwards, opposite to most planets, so the Sun rises in the west and sets in the east, and does so only twice per Venus year. There are more possible games of chess than atoms in the observable universe. The observable universe contains 10 raised to the power of 80 atoms. That is like saying 1 billion times 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 100 million atoms exists. These atoms are mostly hydrogen, derived from its mass of 10 to the power of 53 kg and hydrogen atom mass. But chess, on the other hand, still has more possible games. Claude Shannon, a genius mathematician who some say basically invented modern computing and information theory, studied chess in the 50s and was the first person to calculate how insanely huge chess is. When a chess game starts, on average, each player has about 30 legal moves to choose from at every turn. A typical game lasts about 40 moves per player, which leads to 80 half moves total. Shannon used 80 plies, which means individual moves by one side. So very roughly, 30 choices times 30 choices times 30 choices and so on. Do this 80 times, equals about 30 to the power of 80 possible different games. 30 to the power of 80 is the same as roughly 10 raised to the power of 120. Same as 1 billion times 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 1,000. A whole lot. Thing is though, this is the conservative lower bound, meaning the number could still be much bigger than the observable universe's atoms. The average person walks past 36 murderers in their lifetime, statistically. This applies more to people who live past 80 years, pass at least 10 to 20 individuals daily, and live in densely populated cities. You can't hum while holding your nose closed. Humming requires air to flow through your nasal passages to make the hum sound. When you close your nose, that airflow is blocked, so no humming. You can still make vocal sounds with your mouth open and talk just fine, but actual humming stops instantly. Can you try that after the video? The quietest room on Earth is the anechoic test chamber at Orfield Laboratories, located in Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA. It holds the Guinness World Record with a background noise level of -24.9 decibels. It is so silent you can hear your own heartbeat, blood flow, and even joints creaking. The highest a person has been in is 45 minutes. Usually, after 30 minutes people start hallucinating. A teaspoon of neutron star material would weigh about 110 million tons. Neutron stars are crushed by gravity until almost all the empty space is gone. The density is about 10 to the power of 17 to 10 to the power of 18 kilograms per meter cube, same as an atomic nucleus. At that density, 1 cubic centimeter weighs 400 million kg, like 4 fully loaded aircraft carriers. Hence a teaspoon, which is 5 cubic centimeters, would be 2 billion kg, which is same as 110 to 200 million tons on Earth. There are more public libraries in the US than McDonald's. 16,500 public libraries to 13,500 McDonald's locations. Yet we got folks like these.
How many people are on Earth? Around how many, if you had to guess?
200 trillion?
The first known contraceptive involved crocodile feces, used by ancient Egyptians. Sodium carbonate, honey, and crocodile poop was formed into a pessary, a sort of vaginal suppository. The dung was slightly alkaline with a pH of 8 to 9, which was thought to be good enough to kill sperm, and the sticky mixture acted as a physical barrier to them as well. This recipe is preserved till today in the Ebers Papyrus and Kahan Gynecological Papyrus, two of the oldest medical documents in the world. A flock of owl is called a parliament. The only letter that doesn't appear on the periodic table is J. Whether you spell out the elements or use their abbreviated versions, J is completely left out in the 118 elements. C is the most common element initial, N is the most common letter in their abbreviated symbols, and I has the most letter appearance overall. A jiffy is an actual unit of time. In computing, it's often 1/100th of a second, 10 milliseconds. In physics, it's the time it takes for light to travel 1 Fermi. A Fermi is like the distance between one side of an atomic nucleus to the other side, incredibly tiny. Now it will take a trillionth second for light to travel between these two sides. This trillionth second is called a jiffy, and it's at least a billion trillion shorter than the time a sound wave takes to travel 1 meter, and that is roughly 3 milliseconds. In other words, every time you blink, you miss at least 10 sextillion jiffies. You're behaving weird, bro. The dot over the letter I and J is called a tittle. The word tittle comes from the Latin word titulus, meaning a small inscription or title. Another fun random fact about this fact you'll probably forget in like an hour: the phrase to a T or sometimes to a tittle, and the biblical phrase jot and tittle both refer to paying attention to the smallest details, with the tittle being one of the smallest marks in the alphabet.